So we might be participating in the most bipolar market in the world. This tweet sums it up. Overdose AI says, I just want 2 months of pure bull market, something trusty, guys, something we can lean into, depend on. Literally give us those 20, 50, 100x's. Not 1 week of bull market where, you might get 80% return on your money, which is unheard of in any other industry. But what does that matter if it just undoes itself 1 week later, giving us 1 week of bear? He wants 2 months of straight up only, because that's where we hit those 30, 50, 100x's. Please and thank you. Now we even have Rob Woods in the comments saying that alt season is on the horizon. And this is the divergence of crypto influences. Are we going up? Are we going nuclear for 2 months? Is this the super cycle? Or are we needing to do 1 final, 2 more, 3 more? It doesn't matter what it is, but we just want to know where we are in the cycle. Are we going to be pulling back again and again and again? Alex Becker says there are 3 crypto titans, but only one of them will be right. We have James Wynn, who basically made $1 billion long, lost a lot of money. I think he lost $100 million recently. But he says, buy the dip from Jay Wynn. Then we have Crypto Capo, who wrongly called a dip, I think about a year ago, and took a lot of heat from it. But he's saying right now, once again, calling a much lower dip. He thinks Bitcoin's going to pull back way further. The third titan is Alex Becker saying, oh, mama, need a new diaper. Too much choco milk, my pants. He's just being absolute. It's a play on things. Because the viral tweet is what the sentiment is at the moment, where James Wynn, extremely bullish, Crypto Capo, extremely bearish. But we're following Alex Becker here because although he's got the choco milk joke, I want to know exactly what he actually thinks, because a lot of my gains historically have come through him. And I've got a decent portfolio lined up in Becker's altcoins to try and get me that 10x this time around too. So I want to know what he's thinking about this recent pullback. And he says, there's no point to analyze the price here, talking about Bitcoin price, talking about Ethereum price, and whatever the price of your altcoin is. 99% of people, including me, including you, including Alex Becker, are not talented enough to time the market. The old saying, time in the market is better than timing the market. Now that applied to stocks. Becker is inferring it also applies to crypto on the eve of the back half of the 4th year in the super cycle. I'll tell you more about that in a second. All there is this. Is ETH still likely to go higher and therefore start an altcoin run for tokens that are smaller than ETH? And if it's not certain, is it likely and the risk worth the reward? So the risk is probably what, $10,000 for a lot of people. And they might say, oh, but our time too. But us refreshing the charts doesn't even help. The actual risk is putting, I don't know, between $1,000 and $10,000 if you got more money, maybe even $100,000, whatever you're willing to risk personally into something like an Ethereum altcoin that Alex Becker recommends. The risk is about 10 grand. What is the reward if it pays off? It is 100 grand. So can you lose 10 grand to make 100 grand? I personally would love to do that, and a lot of people can. He says the answer, absolutely yes. Turn off your brain and hold is the description, because Becker talks about this example specifically. This is BNB, which has crept up, guys. I remember used to looking at BNB down here at like $200, and it feels like, again, sort of like the tweet that we had at the start, feels like we haven't really had a nuclear bull market yet. Yet this is up more than a 4x, and this is a strong, big layer 1 chain. And so it's kind of crazy to see it almost at $1,000, which is an all-time high. It's funny because we're talking about like, oh my God, this dip is the end of it. Look at it when we zoom out. Let's have a look at how much BNB's actually pulled back. If we go the last month, it barely has pulled back. It's basically at very close to all-time high. All-time high would be in here at 868. So it's like, depending on what token you look at least the layer 1s, even Bitcoin's at 115,000 when it peaked at 124 temporarily. The pullback, if you're in the bigger coins, doesn't even feel like a pullback. If you're in the alts, you might be feeling a 30 to 35% pullback over the last couple of days. But Becker always uses this as an example because it's a really good example to use. If we go back to before BNB went nuclear in 2021, you can see it looks like years since 2018 all the way to 2021 of flatness. And if we go just to that last year, that 12 months, where basically for 12 months people were calling for a bull market before not Bitcoin, BNB absolutely exploded. So when you zoom in on that flat line, you can see there's actually crazy amounts of chop from $17 down to $15 from, let's have a look up here, $22, pull back all the way to $19.50, up to $31 and then back to $22. Guys, that's a 50% drop here. And if you didn't panic, you would be able to cash in on this thing, not only getting above $600. But if you really didn't panic and just held multi-cycle, which a lot of people are saying that's the way to do it if you're holding the right tokens. If you're holding the wrong tokens, it's definitely not the right way to do it. But for BNB, if you're buying at $16, the best thing that you could have done is to never have sold, because it's basically at an all-time high now. And Becker thinks that we're in that chop before we go nuclear. How does he know? He says the easiest gauge of whether we are in an overheated bull market, because that's what it takes to be at the top. It needs to be overheated, is YouTube views. The most famous, trusted, very popular KOL of crypto, get about 300,000 views on every video right now, which is true. That's how much he's averaging on his YouTube channel. The average channel is between 25,000 and 60,000. I think I might even be below that. I might be below average here at Across the Rubicon. We're probably averaging about 15 to 20,000 channel views, which, as Becker is saying, is not what happens at a peak bull market. In the last cycle at the peak, I was putting out videos that were getting 100,000 views plus, which was crazy for me at the time because I only had something like 10,000 subscribers. And at peak, Becker gets 1 million views on a video, which is more than 3.3 times the traffic that he's currently getting. And for the smaller channels, it goes up to like 5 to 7 times more, like last time. And that's when he knows it'll be the top. In fact, he thinks that we are miles from the top, as does Ilya. I'll show you that in a second. He says, you're going to blink and ETH will once again be at $6,000. Just like you blinked and it went from 2,000 back to 4,000. And it felt like nothing happened. And now it's still over $4,000 and people are like, oh no, there's a massive pullback. Alts will run like crazy when this happens, because that is the theory. The layer ones like Ethereum move first, and then it bleeds down that liquidity, or that money trickles into the riskier and riskier plays. Hold the hot gates. We are close, which I honestly do agree. And I think the risk reward here is, once again, to stay locked in, stay focused. We're on the eve of something really special. Elio Trade says we are 1 million miles from the top. Strong call. This is the final slowdown before the real fireworks, which it does feel like we've had a lot of final slowdowns. But to be fair, we've also had some pretty nuclear times, especially back in Jan. I think the last couple of weeks, we've all made a decent amount of money, or at least should have. Although we are looking for the absurd, we're making too much money, sort of looking at each other, being like, what the hell are we going to do with all this? We're probably going to spend it on another token that's going to launch soon and then double it again. That's the sort of euphoria that we're all looking for. Ilio says if you're looking for this, stick to the plan and buy the dip. And if we're going off facts and not just influencers' feelings, have a look at this. Bull market peak indicators. There's 30 indicators on this CoinGlass sheet right here, which show you, I've talked about some of these, like the Pi Cycle top indicator here on this chart. You have the Bitcoin Rainbow chart. You've got the M2 money supply, Bitcoin trend indicator, MicroStrategy's average Bitcoin cost, all basically factored in on how close are we to the top of the market. And you can see right now, this is at 100% hold. 0 out of 30 signals have flashed. Murad says, people have forgotten just how crazy a crypto bull market can get. Dogecoin added $52 billion in 1 week. That is what peak euphoria looks like. It's not a meme coin running to $1.5 billion. That is not peak euphoria. And in fact, the season does not end before we touch altcoin season. The liquidity has to flow to the riskier and riskier assets at some point in time. And if you're still unsure, this is sort of what I back, because I put my whole business in crypto, let alone put my portfolio in crypto. This is the M2 money supply. This is how much money is being printed by governments and banks and institutions that have a right to create money out of thin air all around the world. And this is trillions of dollars. And so you have to realize that the crypto industry is on the back of the Bitcoin industry. And the back of the Bitcoin industry is basically inverse trading the money supply. As governments print new money, it will eventually, normally 80 to 90 days later, be absorbed into the Bitcoin price. And Bitcoin is on its way because of this. It's the best liquidity sponge we possibly have. It's the hardest form of money. Go study Bitcoin Standard, if you need more information on that. We are 1/10 of the market cap of gold. And we're basically superior to gold in 95% of the ways. And if we're trading altcoins, it's on the back of the money that people make with Bitcoin. At the moment, it's at 124,000 as it overtook Google/Alphabet. And it seems like we're doing really well, but when you look at gold, an inferior asset being 10 times the price, this is what we are betting on. Right now it's at $116,000. And a lot of people are predicting it's going to end between $180,000 and $444,000 this cycle. We are a long way from that. Becca knows we're a long way from that, and we're a long way from having that peak euphoric alt season. So keep holding, stay focused, and make sure you subscribe. We've got some awesome opportunities popping up on this channel over the next months. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.